lightweight pack. I'm not carrying a ton of crap that I don't need. It's very comfortable to carry all day long. Hey friends, welcome back. I am Jason, and about 3/4 of the year, this is pretty much what I carry when I'm out and about in the woods. And it's pretty light. I'd say it probably weighs, even with this heavy wool blanket, this probably weighs less than 20 pounds, I would guess. It gets me through. However, the weather is changing, and about 3 months out of the year, I shift to a little bit bigger pack so I can carry the extra requirements for the colder weather. It's about 38 degrees right now. It is snowing, just barely, just a little flurry of snow right now, and it is wet, it's windy, and it's a nasty, nasty day. Now, from where I come from, this is about as hypothermic of conditions as it's gonna get right here. It's wet, it's windy, and it's pretty dang cold. It's just above the freezing mark. And if you get wet at all, you are gonna freeze your butt off, that is for sure. Now, a lot of you out there have made some poor life choices, and you have chosen a terrible place to live in the far north somewhere where it's frigid. And you're gonna say something in the comment section like, 35 degrees, that's nothing. Come to northern Maine or Canuck somewhere and it's minus 40. Try that out. I get it. Yes, I understand. You've made a poor choice and you're mad at the rest of the world for it. But what I'm trying to say is that it's all relative, right? Cold is a relative thing. If you are cold, it doesn't matter what the actual temperature is. If it feels cold, if that wind, you hear that wind? Yeah, that right there with a little bit of wetness, like this right here, that right there, combined with a little bit of cold just above the 40-degree mark, or just below the 40-degree mark, that is a recipe for hypothermia right there, and I don't care where you live. That's the truth. So anyway, let's get into the kit that I am going to shift to for the next couple months, 2 to 3 months, give or take. And we'll discuss why and when and how we use it. And then in a future video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Please hit that thumbs up, by the way. But make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to be, in the future video, we're going to be setting that stuff up. And I'm going to show you exactly how I utilize the gear that I carry. Sorry about the wind noise, guys. Not much I can do about it. I'm out here in the barn, and it is what it is. I'm an outside guy, and when you watch my videos, I'm going to be outside. It's just the way it is. But yes, you could definitely feel the hand that I dipped in the water versus the hand that I didn't. Significant difference in cold right there. Primarily what we're going to be talking about today is shelter, because that's how we're going to stay dry. It's how we're going to be able to keep our body temperature at the 98.6 degrees that is essential for life to continue on. Clothing is going to be the number one thing right there. If you're not dressed appropriately, you are wrong. If you're heading out into a wild place or just heading out anywhere in the wintertime, you need to be dressed appropriately because you just never know. Future video will be clothing, additional clothing, gloves, and all the things that I would recommend that you have on your body as your first line of defense. So my 3 seasons pack is my Tarahumara pack from Hill People Gear, but it's just a little too small when you start adding things like bivy bags and sleeping bags and things like that and extra warming layers. So what I've done is I switched to the EXO mountain gear right there. See that? EXO mountain gear, and this is the 4800 if I'm not mistaken. Where does it say it? Yeah, 4800 right there. Hopefully you can see that. And this gives me plenty of space, and it's a really comfortable pack and allows me to carry the little bit of extra weight. Not that this stuff's super heavy, it's mostly just bulky. One of the primary things that I would have in my pack is just going to be my sleep system, right? And like I've already showed you, that's going to consist primarily of 3 components. One of them is going to be this military bivy bag right here. This thing's a little bit bulky, a little bit heavy, but it's a Gore-Tex bag. And man, if it is a nasty, nasty day like it is right now, you will be so glad to have something like this that's durable and will keep you dry and keep you warm. It keeps the wind off of you. It keeps the rain, the snow off of you. I mean, you can literally just lay out in this. You wouldn't really want to, but you could lay out in this in the rain and it would keep you pretty much dry and it would do the job. I mean, unless of course you're sleeping in a puddle, and then the water will probably eventually get in some way, somehow, and you'll be wet and cold. So don't do that. Pick a good spot to camp, and we'll talk about that in a future video. But this military bivy bag right here, a little bit big, a little bit bulky, but good grief, man. I really, really like having one of these. I got this at a secondhand store. I don't know if it was an Army Navy surplus store. I think that's where I got it. Can't quite remember, but I think I paid 20 bucks for it. So shop around and you might be able to get a good deal on one. In addition to that, I have my Anvil Horn 15 Big Agnes sleeping bag right here. This thing in conjunction with my sleeping pad right here, this inflatable sleep pad, the sleeping bag, and the bivy bag, those things combined gives you an amazing night's sleep. I sleep fantastic. I've been out in near zero temperature. I forget what the coldest temperature I've been out in, but it was really, really cold. It was for Georgia, for the South, 0 degrees is about as cold as it gets. So with this sleep pad, this inflatable sleep pad, this 15-degree bag, and the bivy bag combined, and I was still in my base layers and whatnot, and probably had like a puffy jacket of sorts on, I slept like a friggin' baby. Now, I have mixed emotions about these inflatable sleep pads. While they are undoubtedly the warmest and most comfortable night's sleep you'll have sleeping on the ground while camping, they are inflatable, and with that comes a certain degree of unreliability, and that's why they come with a patch kit. So make sure you carry the patch kit, which I need to track down. Normally I keep it in here, but it's not there. So I will need to track down my patch kit to make sure that I've got it just in case. Because if you wake up in the middle of the night sleeping on the ground, I mean, yes, this is going to protect you from moisture. By the way, the sleep pad, the sleeping bag, all fit inside of the bivy bag. So you're kind of encapsulated in this thing. And if you've got a tarp or some sort of shelter over top of you, man, doesn't matter what's going on outside, you're gonna be good to go. So highly recommend that. But like I said, make sure you have a patch kit, because inevitably, eventually, use these things long enough, you're probably gonna get a flat. I have never had one. I've never had a flat, but eventually it's probably going to happen. And for that reason, I like just the accordion style foam sleep pads, because they just are going to work, but they'll never be as comfortable, as space saving. They'll never be as warm, as soft as one of these guys right here. So it is a trade-off. It's a definite trade-off. Oh, and this is the inflator bag for the sleep pad. And the awesome thing about that is it's a dry bag in and of itself. So I could put my sleeping bag in here, I could put my sleep pad in here, and I've got everything protected from the elements if my pack should get soaking wet for some reason. I've treated my pack. This pack has been sprayed with a, silicone spray, so it keeps it a little bit more water resistant. So if it was raining on there, a light rain, it's not going to bother it. The water would just bead off there and run off. If you throw it in the lake, of course, things inside are going to get wet if it's not protected to some degree. So I like to kind of assure that my sleeping bag specifically, and my extra clothes, my spare clothes, which is in here, right here, gets protected. This is a lightweight canvas waxed pack from P&W Bushcraft. Really, really good stuff, and incredibly water resistant. I'm not going to say waterproof, but incredibly water resistant. I mean, I have dug a depression in the ground and created kind of a concavity, put this in the bottom of it, and then poured water in it, and it stayed in there for over 8 hours. The water was it never leaked out, not even a little bit. So very water resistant. Not gonna say waterproof, but dang close to it. So in my pack, I'm gonna keep spare clothing. And this is a complete base layer. Like I said in a future video, we're gonna go through all the clothes that I would recommend that you have on you in a wintertime nasty environment like we're in today. But in here, I've got base layers, tops, bottoms, merino wool, just lightweight stuff, nothing crazy. A hat, another spare cap, and some dry socks. So I've got basically head to toe minus gloves and stuff like that. I've got head to toe coverage, so if I was to get sweaty wet or fall in the water or whatever, I could change into this dry layer, get inside of my sleeping bag, inside my shelter, and I can get my body temperature back where it needs to be so I don't die. Let's start stuffing this pack with the stuff that we want in here. Now, I could compress this bag, this sleeping bag, down really small. I mean, it gets pretty dang tiny if you want it to, but unless you need the space, I wouldn't recommend it, because the longer you keep the stuff compressed, the less warming it's going to be, the less dead airspace you're going to be able to trap in that bag. So this is slightly compressed inside of this stuff pack right here, the stuff bag. So, and that's about all I would do with mine, because I don't need the space. I don't carry a whole lot of equipment. I just kind of carry the essentials for the most part. So if I wanted to compress it more, I could, but in this situation, I'm not going to. So what I would do is I would stick my sleeping bag down in here to keep it dry. And it's kind of the last thing that I'm gonna need for the most part. So I'll put it kind of in the bottom of my pack like that. Stick it down in the bottom of the pack like so, inside of that inflator bag, that dry bag. Zip that up. And I might move stuff around. It's been a year basically since I packed this pack like this, so I forget kind of exactly where I want stuff. But for the most part, that goes like that. And then, what do I want in there? Oh, and then I'll also one of the great things about this bivy bag is you can use it kind of like a dry bag. I could put my sleeping bag in this, and that would work just fine too. And I could jam that down on the bottom of my pack, and that would be fine. Bivy bag goes in. Like so. Now I've got a couple of tarp options. This one is a 10 by 10. Really nice. This is a Big Agnes ptarmigan tarp. I like this tarp a lot. 10 by 10. 10 by 10 is a very large tarp. I mean, for a single person, it is plenty of space. The only thing I don't like about this is it is that color. It's bright orange. So I don't dig that. Oh, put my sleeping pad in there before I forget it. This doesn't need to stay dry. Won't hurt it if it gets a little wet. So I'll just kind of jam that on the side there next to the bivy. Just like that. You can put it in its protective bag. I don't typically use the protective bag for the thing. It's in my pack. It's not like I'm stabbing it with stuff. I think it's going to be fine. So I just stick it in there like that. Now, like I was saying, I've got this smaller tarp right here. This is kind of a diamond-shaped tarp that I like a lot. I forget what brand this one is, but I like this one a lot. It's probably sufficient, more than sufficient for just me, and that's probably the one that I'll carry. I'll keep this in the truck, in the vehicle, in case I need a larger tarp for some reason. Stick that down in there, like so. So there's all my shelter and sleeping gear right there at the bottom of my pack, because I don't really need it most of the time. And the beauty of this bag is that you can do this right here. You can open up the pack all the way like that, and you can access all the contents, even the stuff that's jammed down in the bottom of it. It's not just a top filler. You don't just jam stuff from the top and then have to empty your entire pack and dig through it to get to what you need. You can access everything really easily, so I like that a lot. I'll go ahead and throw my spare clothing in there, like so. I've got a large cotton cloth right here, just a big sheet, pretty much, and I keep it in a dry bag. This little dry bag comes from TRC Outdoors, the same place that my hat comes from. You guys are always asking about my hats, the ones with the spiders on them, right there, the Timmy hat. This comes from TRC Outdoors. Big cloth like this one could be used for all sorts of things. I could use it as an improvised bandage or sling. I could use it as a towel to dry off if I do some sort of bath in the creek or something like that. Pretty handy to have, so I like to have that in there inside of a dry bag. I haven't even gotten into this pack yet. I haven't even got to the gear that I have in here. I've just got my shelter components pretty much in here, and my sleeping gear. That's pretty much it. Now this wool blanket, while I would love to have it, it's just not going to be necessary since I added all of the sleeping bags and stuff like that. So I'm not going to carry that big heavy wool blanket. However, there is some stuff in here that I absolutely will carry, like my metal canteen cup right here that has all my small little things, you know, everything from cordages to fire starting aids, sewing kits and stuff like that. Just little things that I keep in there so they don't get lost in my pack, inside of this little mesh bag, and then inside of my canteen cup right there. That has to go in my pack for sure. So we make room for that near the top because I'm going to be grabbing that all the time. That's going to be an essential piece of kit for sure. Now this bivy bag right here, this is my lightweight SOL Escape bivy. Not going to need that because I've got the big wintertime military MSS, military sleep system, bivy bag in there. So we're going to take that out. First aid kit. Yep, I want that. I want that at the top. I might actually put that in the very top of the pack. Easy access. My emergency ration payday. You gotta have a payday. What's your emergency ration? What's your go-to? What would you keep with you as far as necessary, needed emergency calories? You're running low. You've been working hard. You gotta get home. You've gotta push the truck up the hill. You gotta save the baby from the river. And you need a little boost. You need a little extra calories. You're a little calorie deficient. What's your go-to? Mine's payday because it doesn't melt. Got a lot of calories, doesn't melt. So here is my spare clothes. I basically have exactly the same thing in here that I have in that other waxed canvas pack right here. This is a canvas drawstring pack that I really like. I might swap those out. I like the drawstring pack. This is one from P&W Bushcraft that I helped design. You can get one of those there. But I might swap out the dry bags. I don't know, we'll see. And then I've got my small grail right here that I typically carry because it just takes up less space. But since I've got the room in my larger pack, and I might want a little bit more water in the wintertime to make more coffees and teas and cook hot meals and stuff like that, I might want this 24-ounce grail water filter right here. This thing is the bee's knees. So I think maybe I'll swap those out. This will be my warm weather water. This is my hot weather water right there. Now in my little side pockets, I've got my little Baofeng radio. Sorry again about the wind, guys. It is what it is. It's snowing in here. Got my Baofeng radio, which I'll probably throw in that side pocket. And then I've got a solid compass right here. And then in my pack, I have a map of the area in this flappy pack or flappy pouch right there. I've got a map of my area. I've got a pencil to write with. I've got a little notepad and pen, and then I'm going to throw my compass in with that right there. A little bit of extra cordage. Never hurt nobody. Throw that in my pocket, actually. And last, but definitely not least, is my poncho. And I typically keep a trash bag in there as well. I got to get a new one. I think I used the last one and tore it up. But here's my poncho folded up nice and neat. And that will slip in the back of this pack. And I typically store my poncho in the back of the pack right here where the water bladder goes. And also one thing that I keep in here is a way to carry more water if I should need it. It doesn't really weigh much. It doesn't take up a lot of space. But I could carry, I think it's 10 liters. Yeah, 10 liters in this MSR bag bladder right here. Almost always empty, right? Don't really need to carry that much water where I live. Well, I don't need to carry really any water where I live. But if I should be in a situation where I needed to carry a little extra water, that is in there and it is empty. I can throw my poncho in next to it like that. And there's my rain gear ready to rock. Now, like I said, in this top pouch right here, I'm going to throw in my first aid kit, maybe my emergency ration, just like that. Now, I can take my canteen cup and I can throw it in this side compartment here, the side little pocket. I like that. Stretchy pocket. I can put my Grail water filter in the other side over here, just like that. Tuck it in, and I could take some compression straps and secure it so it doesn't go anywhere. Guys, this pack has so much more space for a lot of other stuff. I mean, I could throw everything in there. Extra warming layers, such as this stuff right here, I could cram in there. Easy peasy and have easy access to it because it'll be right on top if I should want to be swapping out my intermediate layer. Typically, I'll have a base layer on. We'll talk about this more in a clothing video later, but typically I have a base layer on, some sort of shirt like this, a wool shirt, maybe a puffy jacket like this, and then my outermost layer that's going to protect me from the elements and the wind and stuff like that. And it's nice to be able to shed those layers and be able to stick them on the top of the pack like that and have them easy access because you're going to be changing them, putting them on and off all the time. So I am going to change my my little canvas dry bag in there out for this one because it's nice. If I dump all the contents out of here, I've got an extra small little backpack. So let's say you make a base camp somewhere and you need to travel off to go get something, to do something, whatever it is. You don't want to be carrying all your gear with you. You might just want to have a little extra space for a few of the essentials, and that's where this little drawstring pack comes in really, really handy. You can carry the essentials on your back, extra layers and stuff like that. So I've checked all the boxes in my opinion. So I've got clothing. I've got my base layer of clothing in there. I've got shelter from the elements, a tarp. I've got my sleeping bag, my sleep pad, and my bivy bag. And with that combination right there, anything that nature throws at me in this area, I think I'll be okay. All things considered, minus, alien attacks, meteors and such. I've got reliable ways to start fire. Always on me. I have at least a couple ways to start a fire. Maybe 3 ways to start a fire on me right now, including my necklace right there. And then in my pack, in my canteen cup, I've got my fire starting kit in there as well. So I should not have any issues getting a fire started. Food is not in my kit right now, minus my emergency ration, but I've got tons of space in there to throw Mountain House meals and whatever I feel like bringing on my trip. Forever, how long I plan on staying, I could carry a week's worth of food or more in that pack pretty easily. There's lots of space in there. Got my Grail water filter, I've got my canteen cup, and with those two things, I can make life happen. I can make myself a brew, make myself tea, I can boil water, make it safe to drink, I can filter the water. And one thing you do have to be cautious of is letting your filters freeze. So at night, for example, I would take my water bottle and I would stick it inside my sleeping bag with me, and that way it won't freeze, and that's always a good idea. So guys, I feel like I've checked all of my winter requirements for my area. I'd love to hear what you think about this in the comment section. What's missing? What could I take away? What could I leave behind? What's excess that's not necessary, if anything at all? I'd love to hear what's on your checklist for upgrading to wintertime, colder conditions. Can't wait to see you in the comment section. Can't wait to see you on the next video. And until next time, friends, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just go on 3. Minus water, minus food, I'd say this pack weighs not much. Maybe, I don't know, I would guess maybe 30 pounds perhaps, something like that. Not a lot of weight for sure for wintertime camping. Easy to carry, lightweight pack. I'm not carrying a ton of crap that I don't need. It's very comfortable to carry all day long. The weight is all on my hips, not all, most of it's on my hips, and I can carry this pack all day long, no issues whatsoever.